here with Encore Embroidery, and I'm here inside my house. So what we've accomplished so far is I built the cart. There's a video for that. I put the keypad on and installed the covers. I think my husband's watering the lawn. Putting the covers on the pantograph here. And now it's time to thread the machine. So we need to talk about thread and some of the accessories that you got in your operator's kit. So we got some black stabilizers. They're kind of rubber stabilizer things, three-sided. And we also got some discs here that say Madeira on them. And they're both used for threading the machine. So first one, I'm going to pull this thread tube out from the machine, and then I'm going to use my stabilizer here, and I'm going to pull it down. Now, I don't know if you can see this really well, but let me get that. So as I pulled the stabilizer down, there's thread that's already been loaded into the machine, and I can't get a hold of it because the rubber stabilizer has it pulled really tight. So I'm going to take my stabilizer and pull it back up again. And I don't know if you can see it now, but now I have a piece of thread that I can grab a hold of. So I'm gonna just put that back down, pull my thread loose, and I'm gonna stick my cone of thread on. And we're using, this is 40 weight polyester thread from Madeira. All right, so stick that on there. And I want you to notice the position of the tube here. It's about a quarter of an inch, sticking out a quarter of an inch above my cone. The reason I want that there is because if the cone is down inside the tube, as my thread comes off and goes down inside the tube, it could catch on the cone here as it's coming off. If there's any nicks or anything, it could catch there. And if it catches, then you could have a thread break, right? Because it's not flowing easily through there. So having the cone too short can cause a thread break. So I'm going to do something else here. I'm gonna put my cone on without the black stabilizer guy. Now, I haven't tied him off yet because I'm not gonna leave it like this. And you don't have to use the stabilizers, the black stabilizers. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's just a matter of what kind of a hurry I'm in, I guess. But if you see this, I'm touching both this gray cone and the tan cone, and the gray cone's not wiggling because I use the stabilizer. The tan cone, no stabilizer, wiggles around a little bit. Doesn't cause any problems when you're stitching, but the stabilizers do give you that stability because it's a stabilizer. All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing here, bring it down, pull it back up again. That way I can grab a hold of my thread, pull it out. I'm gonna make my tube just a little bit taller there. Put my thread on, grab my thread. Okay, so I haven't even done this one yet. Okay, so now we have the thread. Each one of these has a thread sticking out of it. It's already been threaded all the way through the machine. So what we're gonna do with these, once we get the cone on there, I have the thread from the cone and a thread from the tube. And I tie a knot like I tie a balloon, right? So I wrap it around my fingers and I pull it through. And I just pull the knot nice and tight. Some people will use a square knot, and a square knot is great if you can tie a square knot in midair. I think it's a little bit more work to tie a square knot. But the reason you want a really small knot is because then when we go to pull it through the needle, you don't have to rethread every needle when you change the thread. You should be able to pull it all the way through and pull the knot all the way through the needle as well. It's got a nice knot, have to thread the needle, right? So I got the stabilizer on. I've got 2 pieces of thread in my fingers, wrapping it around, pulling it through, and it's threaded, all right? So now I'm going to, Maisie's underneath my feet. Hey, Maze. All right, so now I'm going to show you how I'm going to pull the thread through the needle. So I'm on needle number 15 here, and I'm going to bring it closer. This is numbered 15, this is numbered here, there's a number here, and there's a number here, right? It's marked really, really well. So I'm going to lift up the red roller for number 15, and then I'm going to grab the thread down here, and I'm going to pull. And once the knot reaches the needle, it stops. But what I do is I take my thumb and I place it right behind the needle, and I pop the knot through the needle. I don't know if you could hear it through the camera, but now I'm going to put that down, and I'm going to do number 12 here, lifting up my, so you can see, I don't know if you can see the thread or not, the thread's going into the tube, and I've got the knot down here at the needle, pop it through. And I've got the new thread on there, it's already through the needle. I did not bring a scissors with me. I do know there's one in my operator's kit, but we're just going to break that thread right now. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is short cones of thread, right? These tall cones from Madeira come with 5,000 meters worth of thread. These little ones, if you don't need a whole bunch of a particular color and you order the small ones, 1,000 meters, but they're really small in comparison, right? So Madeira gave us these, and as you'll see, their cones fit down in there and are perfect fit, okay? So we take this, and the same rule applies. I just want the tube sticking out a little bit above my cone. So I'm gonna put this on, okay? And then I'm going to find my thread, and I've got my thread here. Now, okay, so these tubes come up from outside the metal, the outside is metal, inside is plastic, okay? So I'm just gonna put that down. And I'm gonna slide my cone on, and it fits down nicely in my disc there. This is an older, Melco used to carry thread back in the day, and I still have some. I brought out one of their larger cones, and I brought out one of the smaller cones as well. You can do this with these as well, but if you'll notice the difference between this cone here and this cone, this one has just a little bit where the thread, as it's coming off the cone, has a place to sit in this little, I don't even know what to call it really, but it doesn't always get underneath. This one, it's full all the way to the bottom of this base here, so it's potential that the thread could get underneath the cone here. So you don't want that to happen, so you've got these great discs, and it sits in there and prevents that from happening. Same thing goes, I'm going to grab my thread and the thread off my cone, tie them in a knot like a balloon, make that knot really tight. I'm on needle number 9, lift up roller number 9, grab the thread down here, pull it through, pop the thread through the needle, and it's on there. Okay, so now I'm going to go through, and I'm going to put all of the stabilizers on, and I'm going to unwrap the cones of thread and get this all set up. Just as a side note, these things, if you get the cone, if you get the tube all the way out, you didn't break it. And this piece either, it comes off. So if it comes out, don't worry, you didn't break it. And then the tube just slides right back down in there, and everything's stable. All right. Okay, one more thing. People always ask me where I put my colors, And I'm going to do this the way I would normally set it up for myself. And so I'm not going to put the green in the center. So we have 16 needles. The most common threads that you're going to use are black and white, okay? And if I have black and white on numbers 1 and 2, and I'm sewing another color on 16 and it needs to go to 1 and back to 16 and back to 1, it's kind of inefficient time-wise. And so I always put black and white on numbers 8 and 9 because they're right here in the middle of our machine. So I'm going to do that real quick. And it doesn't matter which one is which. I'll put black on 9. And from here on out, I'm going to tie all the knots, and when I'm finished, then I'm going to pull all the thread through the bottom. So if you see me tie them off when I put them on, and I'm going to pull them all through at the same time. It's a time saver. All right. So this back one here is number 8. That one's going to be white. All right, there you go. So we've got all our colors on, and I told you I was going to do all of the threads at the same time. And it gets tricky if they get caught in my roller, so I'm just making sure that they're all not in front of my rollers here. And then I'm going to go through, and even on the ones that I did earlier, I'm going to just lift all of these up, and I'm going to, you can see the big mess I made here with all my garbage, but I'll pick that up in a minute. But I'm going to just grab all the thread from behind the needles and pull. All right, you can see how the thread came through there. And I'm just going to pop it through one by one. And if I pull, I don't need to be worried about the thread break or the needles breaking. The thread is a lot weaker than the needles. So if I pull and something's going to break, it will be the thread. And then that's not a big deal because then I just rethread the needles. Okay, get these guys over here. And if you accidentally forget to tie one off, it's not a big deal. I can't find this one. There it is. All right, pop them through. One more. All right, now I'm going to get a scissors and trim these off. And then once I turn the machine on, I can send the grabber bar back and it'll tuck all the threads up in the grabber. And that's all it takes to thread 16 needles on your new embroidery machine. All right, so I threaded my machine and I'm drinking a glass of wine. And
bottle of wine?
drinking a glass of wine. And when I went to pick up all my trash and take care of the cleanup, I noticed that there was a very important part of this video that I missed. And I'm gonna blame it on the wine. But these red rollers here, they all need to be put back down into place, right? If you don't have these, in place and you go to sew, you will get a bird's nest. Guaranteed 100% you will get a bird's nest. You will have down here in the rotary hook a big old mess of thread because there's nothing holding the thread back if these rollers aren't up. So let's call that an intentional mistake on my part because I needed to point that out to you, right? So don't make the same mistake I just did by having a glass of wine while you're threading your machine.
A bottle of